it is an exceptionally beautiful day here in Virginia, and so that means we're getting started on a lot of our gardening stuff. Today specifically, I am focusing on my container gardening. We have lots of planters, like there's one back here. We have a few more. We've got our organic soil that we are going to go ahead and put in those today. And then we also have our pots of herbs that we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started on this and take you all on the journey with me. So we've got our organic soil. Basically, we're doing a couple of different things today. We have planters like this one. We have several of these. They're very large that we put our tomato and pepper plants in. And then new this year, we have planters like this, which are very deep. And in these, we'll put a lot of our root vegetables, so carrots and beets and stuff like that. Because our soil is so rocky, we really have to utilize container gardening here. All of these containers were used last year, and they've been put back here for storage. You can actually see we kind of did a more back to Eden method in the containers as well, because we put leaves and mulch and straw on top of a lot of them to keep them safe over the winter time. Now these are going to be pulled out and put over here next to our raised beds, and then along part of our walkway. I also really enjoy growing my herbs in these big pots. So we enlarged our pots this year, and we'll be planting a lot more herbs in these pots. Before I plant though, I'm actually going to paint them, so we'll do that next. So the only thing you really need is a can of spray paint, whatever kind you want. You can use the low emissions one or whatever you call it. Sadly, I don't use it. I just get a can of spray paint. And your pots. Now, the only reason I'm doing this is because I'm a stickler for things matching, and these are going on my back porch, the herb ones. So I'm painting them to match my theme on the back. You see Samson running around. So here we go. Have a center block or something you can put it on so it's not directly on the ground, and get started. So basically, all you're doing is you're starting away, and you're dragging it across so that you don't get any run marks, and so there's not like a clump of paint. So start away, like this, and then go across. So that one's done, we'll move on to the next one. A lot of you might be wondering why we are not doing straw bale gardening for such a small area. I have nothing against straw bale gardening, but because we have a small area and not a lot of space for that decomposition to happen, we don't use them here. We strive to have raised garden beds instead of the straw bales, because ultimately our goal is to be completely self-sufficient should something happen. Should something happen in our world where we couldn't get straw bales, what are we going to do? We're going to have to work extra hard to make garden beds and make things that we need. So we've decided to just go ahead with the raised garden beds, put the work into it now, and our container gardening. And so that's what we're doing. That's why we haven't been using the straw bales. So I painted the biggest two containers over here. I don't want all of the containers to be the blue color, because I want some of them to still keep the natural clay. So I'm going to go ahead and start with these while the other ones are drying. Now, today I am only planting rosemary, peppermint, chocolate mint, and cilantro. This is because these have already been out for a while, and so they've already hardened off. Now these are the Bonnie plants because I took the cheap route and just went and got some of these from our local farmer store. But they do just as well, and I'm really okay with how they are. So the herbs are really easy. You're just going to fill this halfway with soil. I use organic soil. You're going to put the plant in, water it, put the soil on top of it, and you're done. Now technically I could put this whole thing in if I took the plastic off, but I'm not going to do that this time. It's easier to do that when you are putting it actually in the ground. Junior, can you go get that clear pitcher over there and fill it with water for me? Now this particular one needs water because I was not home yesterday to water it. Basically it's kind of crumbling, but if it were wet you would go ahead and kind of rip it in two or poke holes in the sides of it and go ahead and put it into your soil. So I actually forgot that I wanted the rosemary in the big one, and that's because rosemary spreads like wildfire. So switching to cilantro. Now cilantro does grow as well. My cilantro last year, it grew like crazy. I mean it was huge by the end of summertime. My plan was to keep the cilantro indoors, but my plan didn't pan out. Our next raised bed container gardening is going to be this. For this, we're actually going to use it for carrots. For this, I'm going to go ahead and use one of these garden soils, and then I'm actually going to use a bag of topsoil as well, and mix it all up.
I'll put this inside here for you. Right here.
Okay. Thank you. If you're asking what topsoil is actually a mixture of organic soil, and it also has sand in it. A lot of times I've found that my carrots do better in a more sandy environment, so that's why I'm mixing the two. Just be sure to break up the big clumps. Now, I could probably use another half bag of this, so I'm going to go ahead and put half and half on top. And there's our carrot bed. We have a few more of these to do, and we'll move on to the next thing. Another form of container gardening is these hanging baskets that we've hung on our shed beside our garden beds. Last year I did strawberries in these. As you can see, they're kind of still in there. They actually survived the winter. So I'm going to see if they bloom. If they don't bloom, I'm just going to pull them out or transplant them and probably put something else in here. This is one of our other garden beds, more so for flowers and herbs. We actually built this last year. It also needs dirt, but we're just going to do fill dirt. Let me show you from this angle. This particular one is built out of railroad ties, and it took us a long time. Since we are planning to sell in the near future, we wanted some curb appeal for our driveway. But in the meantime, I'm going to utilize it for things that we actually can grow in it instead of just flowers. So I have gone ahead and planted my carrots in this raised bed. Yes, it is only March, but here in Virginia, and really anywhere, you can plant carrots 2 to 3 weeks before your last frost date. So I'm pushing it. It's about 4 weeks before our last frost date, but I have a good idea that these are going to probably grow just fine. So we've had a lot of warm days, and I think they'll be okay. So beds like these are great for root vegetables. I'm thinking that I'm going to go ahead and do a bed like this for potatoes as well. And then maybe for my beets, I had planned on putting my beets in my raised beds like I have in years past, but I'm really liking these raised beds because they're movable. They do not have a bottom, so if I pick this up, the dirt will remain here, but I can easily scoop the dirt up. That also means for potatoes, if you're growing potatoes in these, you can easily wiggle this and pull it off, and then just harvest your potatoes that way. So this is a really great option, really cheap reclaimed wood, or just, you know, some wood from the store, and you'll have a great raised bed for years to come. You can see those little green sprouts there. These are actually kale that I planted 2 weeks ago, probably. They're coming up and they're doing great. We've actually been through snow and rain and sleet and all kinds of stuff, and the seedlings have stayed strong and are growing great. This is in one of our garden beds. So we have rows and rows of kale, and I'm excited for them to be doing well this early in the season. So here are our containers on our back deck. These are our herbs. I have a lot more that I need to plant still, but these are going to do the trick in the meantime. So we have rosemary, cilantro, and peppermint. I also have bee balm, lemon balm, and some other things to plant after this, but I'm not going to plant them right now. So these were some great ways to use container gardening in your garden, and my hair is a mess, but that's what happens when you actually work on your homestead. So I hope that they can help you in this year's gardening. We've really enjoyed them, and they've been great for us. And I did forget to mention buckets. You can use buckets for container gardening. Just make sure you drill lots of holes in the bottom so that it can drain properly. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Happy gardening, happy homesteading.